Hi everyone, welcome back to the garden. It's another glorious early morning start here today. Don't ask what I'm doing up so early, but it's beautiful to be outside and see this golden sunlight filtering through the garden. And in today's video, neatly following on from the last, I want to talk about my actual plans for the bamboo tunnel area and then that area of tricky dry shade just off to the side of it. In my last video, I discussed a few potential ideas, mulled over a few different options, and it was great, honestly amazing to have so much feedback from all of you. A lot of you got a lot more experience in terms of garden design, hard landscaping, so definitely I've taken a lot of that input on board, but I've also gone a bit with my gut. So have I changed my original plan? Is it completely different now? Or are there subtle evolutions which will help me get more out of the garden here? Well, you've got to watch to find out, and we'll get into it right now. So yes, honestly, a huge thank you to everyone who let me know their thoughts, feedback, ideas, suggestions, and potentially crazy plans for this part of the garden here. I really did appreciate each and every one of you, and if I haven't got back to your comment individually, I will be doing so very, very soon. Especially thanks to Tiki Tropicals and others who actually took the time to message me with some very thorough and thoughtful answers and potential issues, drawbacks with some of my plans. But let's go through them right now, starting with the path width. Now, this is something which I had realised myself, and obviously was one of the main reasons behind me putting that last video together. This path, although it's fantastic if you really want an intense jungle experience, one of the things which I possibly didn't dwell in the video is that as this bamboo grows, it's going to get a lot closer to the path here. And as you can see, bamboo tends to lean out, doesn't it? So ultimately, if both sides of this area grow here, this pathway will be significantly smaller. So in the video, I generally focused on giving enough width to my large black barrow over there. You can obviously fit a normal wheelbarrow through this just fine, no problem at all. But I think in terms of future-proofing, as a lot of you also agreed, it makes sense to make the path wider. To me, that's common sense really. As much as it deviates from my aesthetic choice for the garden, it's a bit of practicality, which is maybe a compromise that we'll see running through this video. So what I'm going to do is basically just take out another foot of earth here, something around there. That'll make this path over 1 metre wide. I know one of you commented saying, what are we going to do in potential future open days when you've got thousands of people going through the garden and people have to walk side by side? Well, to be honest, that's frankly a terrifying prospect, having that many people. And yes, as much as you do need to allow for people to walk side by side, ultimately this is my garden, there's wider areas either side of it. So it's definitely about my enjoyment of it, but also leaving it practical and open for other people potentially in the future. So I definitely think it's worth widening this path a little bit more at least. Obviously, in an ideal world, I'd have a path that's 1.5 metres wide, but in a garden that is literally only 7.5 metres wide, I know it probably looks wider at certain points, you can't really go giving up 1/3 of the garden to path, and there's absolutely no way that I could have a winding path or 2 different paths in the garden while still have enough depth to create some lush jungle planting either side. So point 1, definitely kick this side back another foot here, take out that little bit of temporary barrier there, push it back a bit. I don't see a problem with that at all. There's going to be some more soil to use further up the garden, and I need to put some more crusher down. But I'll be buying some more crusher anyway for the project that I'll discuss in just a minute or two. And the other benefit of actually extending the path another foot or so is that, and this is something I was definitely going to do, it will make this wall here central and balance out the one behind it. Now I know with this archway I've got a few different options. I could actually kink the pathway just behind it and have the arch rising up out the path, but in all honesty, I don't really think that's my style. I could centralise the path and have it a little bit more narrow through there, just keep it the same width going all the way through, but I think that would be a little boring. The path would simply be a ribbon running through the garden and there'll be no real excitement there. So I definitely like the idea of ballooning it out here, having some kind of circular feature, which is something a lot of you were fans of, some kind of mosaic, maybe using small stones, cobbles, something like that. Potential excitement and creativity for another day, but something I'd love to leave a space for. So what I'm going to do is extend this here about another foot back. As you can see, I've got room in front of all these bamboo. And I think probably the mistake I made when thinking about this, putting it together, is that these bamboo are a clump now, but they're going to get larger. You can split parts off them, so if it starts going more this way, I can just take a chunk out. And obviously they've got plenty of room to grow back, so having another foot out this part here isn't a problem at all. And then I can neatly just kick the path back here, just take the edge off that post fix there. So then I've got a lot wider path here and potential for an exciting little mosaic or a little bit of creativity in this part of the garden. When it comes then to the walls themselves, currently laid out with cobbles, again, I have pretty much gone with what I wanted to do, but it's great to know a lot of you did agree with me. Now, I know these cobbles are maybe not the most friendly surface, so I'm definitely going to keep the wall low. And also having the walls too high might be a little bit too, we'll say a little bit too restrictive in this part of the garden, but I definitely think, and a lot of you agreed, I need to have the walls 2 blocks high all the way down. That was pretty much a given for me. I was going to do that. I could neatly butt up to that rock just behind those ostrich ferns over there, no problem. And again, at this side over here, I could neatly tie it into that wall there, which I will just literally push back about another 9 inches or so further back, just to keep the line going. So that is the plan. And I think as well, extending the path a little bit wider, although it's a compromise in some respects, it then lets me have the wall 2 blocks high each side, potentially just pushing the second course back like I've done here to make it a little bit more inviting. So that way, although I'm giving up a bit of ground, I've certainly got the wall that I want, and overall, I think I'll still keep that feeling of enclosure, that real bamboo tunnel inspired by Chatsworth House that I really want to go for here in this part of the garden. And as a lot of you pointed out, this soil here, whilst I will be using some of it to backfill once I finish the wall, whilst I will be using some of it to actually pot up plants because compost is expensive these days, there's also potential to just spread some of it further back so nothing gets wasted in my garden other than the absolute subsoil dregs that I dug up from the fire pit project up there. Those will be going away. But all this soil will be getting reused, spread around the garden. These piles won't be a problem at all. So the path will be wider, the wall will be taller. What next? Next up then, the exciting decision of what I'm going to put as a finished surface and this pathway through here. Well, at the minute, like I've mentioned in the past, this is a crusher. So it's not really a gravel, it's more of a sub-base to whatever you're choosing to put over the top of it. It can be left as a reasonably hard wearing and smooth surface until then, no problem at all. And that's going to be very helpful because this project will be done in stages. At the minute, I'm very much trying to do things on a budget, not spending a huge amount of money and putting graft the hard work where I can to get around that. So definitely, it's now time for crusher. I've got loads of sand anyway, so I can get mortaring these cobbles down. Anything where I can put the time in and not spend a huge amount of money on materials is definitely the current way forward. So if you haven't commented on that last video already, if you've still got an idea you want to comment on this one, please go for it, because chances are, by the time I see your comment, I won't have moved on to doing the pathway yet. As you know, if you watch my channel a while, I'm not a fan of rushing things these days, or should I say, I don't really have the chance to. But when it comes to this surface here, I mentioned a few possible ideas. The first one, I believe, was basically to actually put sandstone slabs down. Now, Brendan over at Tiki Tropicals messaged me to point something out, which I know is one of the main drawbacks of sandstone, which is in a damp, shady area like this might be during winter, it gets green. Now, I used to work at a builder's merchant. I know you can get different kinds of sandstone sealer, and there's a lot of difference between a 40 quid sealer and a 200 quid sealer, but definitely you don't want to scrimp on getting a decent sandstone sealer. But the problem with sandstone sealer is it degrades over time, it's going to get chipped up, flaked, and you end up with a job that you have to keep redoing time after time because sandstone is unfortunately quite permeable. So sandstone maybe, although it would look great when it's first put down, looks fantastic in all your garden transformation programs, it's maybe not the best long-term choice for this part of the garden here, even though it ticks the budget box, you know, comparatively, and it's also a nice finish which I think will complement the beautiful exotic planting. The second idea was to put the cobbles down, just to literally have 5 or 6 rows of cobbles. Yes, I think again, beautiful to look at, fantastic. If it was just my garden, that is what I'd do. But like I said, planning for future people, not random visitors, but you know, family, people actually visiting, barbecues, that kind of thing. A cobble pathway maybe isn't the most practical thing. And then for Harriet on her bikes and things as well, maybe not the most suitable floor covering at this time in our lives. So potentially I've ruled that idea out. And one of the other issues with put anything down like these cobbles here or something less permeable is that, as Brendan pointed out, you might end up creating pretty much a channel here where water can run down. I don't want a canal in my garden. So that was something that would have to take a lot of effort in terms of putting maybe a strip of gravel down each side, a little soak away so the water can spill through. Now that in itself isn't a problem. As much as I'm doing most of these jobs for the first time, I'm reasonably practical these days and I'm not afraid of putting the effort in to get it put right. But probably for me, I think the most crucial thing for this part of the garden is that I've moved away from the covering that I will be using up here. Yes, in the past, for this fire pit area, the more Mediterranean planting, I have discussed using a bound gravel. And I actually think, although it's something I might have to do later down the line when I can afford exactly what I want, I think a bound gravel might just be perfect for this whole jungle area here. Because it's permeable, it lets the water through. Yes, it's quick and easy to put down, but those aren't really factors. It's also very practical. You can run barrows over it, Harriet can run a bike over it. There's no edges to clip yourself on. And possibly the most important thing for this part of the garden here is it also lets me take out the slopes. Because as I've discussed in the past, the garden does slope down quite a bit, and using something like a bound gravel finish will let me just neatly smooth those slopes into one flowing line. This part of the garden, whilst on the subject of slopes, I have decided that basically by the time I put these cobbles in with a nice little concrete footing, they're going to be level with the top of that barrier anyway, so I can just simply slip some of that off the top there. Whilst I did ponder using a metal edging, something like that, I think in all honesty, the less materials I use in this part of the garden, the better. But when it goes back to the floor, I'm definitely open to a few different options. You see, I could potentially have a different colour of bound gravel here, or I could have bound gravel running up to a point, maybe a brownish colour, and then a neat little sandstone or potentially cobble or stone circle here, and then lead off with something different up there. So there's definitely options, and one of my methods of breaking up the path will be to have different floor coverings running all the way through. So overall, hopefully a cohesive, well-designed journey through the garden, but with subtle changes, evolutions, and a little bit of texture interest. Texture, colour, different patterns, that's what really makes the garden exciting. But the tricky bit is making sure it all blends in together. Before then, I move on to the main decision in today's video, what I'll be doing with the tricky dry shade area. I just wanted to go through something else, and it's all about straight versus curved lines. Now, I will be doing a full jungle tour of the garden very, very soon, but at this time of the year, I've come over here to show you how much Shigunnera stands out into the garden. So whilst the hard landscape in itself, in my garden here, does follow a relatively practical almost straight line through the centre of the garden, that'll just give enough room, hopefully, for the borders either side. And when you've got plants like this stepping out here, you can't see what's beyond them. You have to walk out into the garden to go around them. So the hard landscape in itself does seem quite straight, having the plants do their thing in summer really does change the adventure and immersion as you walk through the garden. And the whole idea of this part here, as you walk past this Shigunnera, and then you've got this straightish section here, is that you see off into the distance. The garden changes up there. You've got that big Djibouti in the distance to look at. You've got all the succulents, the Mediterranean planting, those California poppies, which are the orange flowers down there. I know a few of you asked about those. So it's very much intentional. I wanted this part of the garden, specifically through the bamboo, to be a very straight line. I know in jungles, a lot of people who grow these kind of plants really like winding paths. That's definitely a great tip you can use to create an authentic jungle feel to your garden. Having paths where you can't see what's around the corner, it can look fantastic. But for me, I do like a bit of practicality. I do like a bit of formality. And I guess probably that is the crucial thing for me. You can have a garden which is perfectly designed on paper. You can have a Chelsea garden which looks sensational but maybe doesn't quite work for you. The idea just doesn't hit. And for my garden here, I wanted a straight line. I think formality is something which we often miss in our gardens just for the sake of putting a few more plants in. I've got this row of trachycarpus behind me, a nice neat row. And I really do like the backdrop they give. Yes, formality is probably a bit of a stretch, but you know what I mean. I do like to create viewpoints. And often with a longer garden, the temptation is just to chop it up into lots of individual rooms, where sometimes leaning into the benefits, actually extending that view, giving people a glimpse of what's ahead, and really leaning into that here with the bamboo tunneling your vision literally as you look ahead. I think for me, that's what really makes this part of the garden feel so special. But yes, I know a lot of you believe the path's a little bit too straight, which is something I will be remedying in some way, but we'll talk about very, very soon. But for the general scope of the path, I'm very happy with it. And I think once it's wider, it'll really be practical, future-proof, and hopefully also very beautiful too. But you can see here, looking forward, you can't see either side of the garden. But if I started having another path somewhere else and winding it round, I think I'd lose the overall avenue effect that I was going for. That's my excuse anyway for bad garden design. That is something I just wanted to confirm how the garden feels. And for me, having this straight line here, it's definitely very straight to the point where it's a nice contrast to the jungle area around it. And the garden, like I said, does wind around quite nicely. But there is something more important to discuss. What I'm doing with this area here. So when it came to this area, decision time. Originally, I was going to go, and when I say originally, I literally mean a few weeks ago, I was going to go for more shade tolerant plants in here, which to an extent I will be doing so. I did mention in my last video, I could potentially have more Mediterranean drought resistant plants in here, but the way I said it and the way a lot of you commented definitely suggests the same thing, which isn't right for this section of the garden here. This is definitely a shadier spot. I know the sun around midday, it's somewhere up there and it comes around, so it does see more sun than potentially I was inferring. But even so, it doesn't feel like a Mediterranean garden. And like I said in the past, sometimes you have to go with your intuition. For me, this border here, this desert island border, once it's tidied up and weeded, it really will look like a sensational Mediterranean desert island retreat. But it only works because of the sun. This part here, with the ivy covered fence behind it, the big cherry tree up there, Mediterranean just doesn't sit right, particularly when I've got more, what should we say, jungle planted in the forms of bamboo behind it. So Mediterranean planting was merely just a practicality and not the right choice for my garden. And I think often, just to labour that point again, something can be right, it can be a fantastic garden idea, but maybe not right for your garden and maybe not right for this particular spot. And that is what I've decided about the pond. Yes, I know there was huge support for the pond. That's definitely something I expected, and I was not let down. So many of you wanted to see a pond in my garden. I have got a little jungle pond up there. There is a tiny little water feature, containerised one, that patio, and there will be some more big troughs going in behind it in a few years' time at least. But in this part of the garden here, I don't really think a pond is right. As a few of you also agreed, and let me confirm, I wasn't just looking for people to confirm what I was already thinking, but a lot of you pointed out, being under the tree, it would be a nightmare for leaves. It would also be not the right spot for a pond anyway, probably not enough light for the plants and other wildlife to really thrive. So potentially it was me, you know, right idea, wrong place, we'll say, and a pond isn't the best choice for this part of the garden here. But one thing I will say, I will dangle a carrot. Coming up in something that I'll share with you in maybe a month or two's time, probably a couple of months, I have got another project area coming up, which I think will be perfect for a larger pond. A lot more sun, a lot more potential for some real exciting wildlife friendly planting. Yes, I know, a bit vague right now, but if you stick with me, I can promise that that future project will definitely be worth waiting for. So I've parked the idea of a pond now in my head. So I've actually gone back to one of my initial ideas. As much as a waterfall pouring into a jungle pond would be exciting, I think the other factor at the minute is budget as well. I simply wouldn't be able to do the job that I want to do, and I've held back from watching pond videos too much on YouTube just to keep that away. I know I will spend a lot of money getting it just right. I have got a few bits already. I've got a stainless steel water blade. I've got obviously loads of cobble rocks, but just getting a decent liner, which is what a lot of you suggested, over a preformed pond, things like that, the cost really mounts up, doesn't it? But this isn't a purely budget decision. What I've decided to do is actually, if I go back a bit here, bring the cobble wall. I might leave one block high because I will be putting bound gravel up to here. Actually bring it round and take it back against the wall there, and then come forward to about here. So that way I can create a secluded little seating area. I'm going to continue the crusher base into it, and basically that'll have a couple of main advantages. Firstly, on a visual aesthetic level, although I will have the bottom layer of cobbles potentially, I'll just push the top layer off there. It'll have a nice little curve to the garden there. So it'll give the impression as you're approaching this archway here that the garden does go off that way there. So although, like I said, the garden is generally straight, I think just having that little kink off to the side there will really create a bit of intrigue, a bit of mystery. And the second thing is, in practicality, as I walk into it here, being careful not to stand the plants that will be moved this next week. This is a really nice sheltered little spot with views over the beautiful Mediterranean plants in there. There is really a nice bit of seclusion here, and as the trees continue to grow, I think this area here will be a lovely little more sheltered spot in the garden. It'll catch the late evening sun just as it goes over there beautifully well. A little bit shadier than my 5-pit area for definite, but I think there's potential to have a nice snuggy little seating area, which is something that's always welcome in a garden. So that is my general thinking. Take out the Phylloslacus adravaginata there, which is, as I mentioned in the past, bamboo which likes wetter, damper soil conditions than I've currently got for it here. That will be going somewhere else in the garden down the line, but for the minute it'll be going in a big pot. take out the Fagecia domiciliary, which is definitely struggling a little bit here amongst the roots of this very vigorous cherry tree. That can come out. I'll move the euphorbia around the garden, the schefflera, or what's left of it, and the persicarias. They'll be coming out as well, getting potted up and giving another chance to live elsewhere in the garden. So I can clear this area relatively nicely. I've then got the trachys behind there. I think I'll replace that bamboo with another Berinda papyrifera, the last one that I've got in a pot, which will complete the sort of clumping bamboo area around that side. The path can neatly curve around here. I'll put some more barrier in to contain these running phylloslacus over there. So I think I can create myself a nice little spot here. But I'm not prepared to fully turn my back on water features, and I'm planning something in this area here. I'm not sure what yet. Potentially a raised, maybe even a containerized pond water feature. I know a lot of you have really spoke highly of the, what we call pondless waterfalls, the ones where they tumble down. I do like them, but what I really wanted was a pond. For the wildlife benefits, I wanted to see open water. But yes, with a young child, possibly isn't the best thing. Robin up there, he's saying just go for a pond wherever you can fit one in, and there possibly is some merit to that. But I've decided here, maybe something containerized that Harriet can enjoy without any kind of risk or minimal risk is the way forward. And for me, having a big monolith stone with a hole drilled through it, or some sort of tumbling waterfall, it would be really hard to keep it in this area here and actually have it looking genuine how I want it to, in a way that doesn't look too separate to the rest of the garden. So that's what I'm currently thinking. Patio here, kick the wall out, have some kind of water feature, maybe seated. And the other thing about having a patio area here is it does future-proof this area again to an extent. So when I can afford to down the line, we can build a structure here. I can have a pergola. I can maybe have a small pond built into the side of it. I can maybe have a large curved wall built of cobbles at the back like one of you suggested. There's definitely options here and ways I can potentially change it down the line. But for me, what really made my mind up, as much as all of your amazing comments, is actually seeing the seclusion. You see, another year or two of these bamboos growing, you won't be able to see through there. And again, as you walk past, it's almost a surprise seeing it. But just to show you from this way up here, the bamboo almost cover it. So once they've grown out a little bit more, as you can see they're rapidly trying to do, this really will be a nice little spot of paradise here. So maybe not the pond lots you wanted, but I think for me at least, for this part of the garden, I think it'll be a really great use of the space, something a little different, a shady area, a sheltered area, somewhere peace and quiet to actually enjoy the garden. And maybe, just maybe, if that path is still too narrow, somewhere for people to at least turn around there. So that's what I'm thinking. I know it's not the pond many of you wanted, but like I mentioned, honestly, stay with me. There will be something coming up, an area, beautiful sun, where that pond can really be something truly majestic. And I'm all about going big. I might not be doing it down here today, but what I've got planned will more than make up for it if a few things come off. So I'm really excited to develop a garden beyond this jungle section here and really have a wildlife pond to be proud of. So that's my plans for this part of the garden here. Apologies again for another rambling video, but I found it really helpful myself to go through my thoughts this part of the garden here. The kind of thing that I would have done in my own head over the last week or so. As you can see, I haven't rushed into things. I've set things up. I've done a dry run, a trial run essentially, putting those walls down there. And that's what made me think, hang on a second, this isn't central, that needs to be central. This path, although I want it to be narrow, it won't work for the future proofing of the garden. And I think these are the things that you need to do when you plan a project like this. Yes, you could have done it even more efficiently, use some line marker spray, maybe plant it out before you put the arch in and loft these plants. But you know, that isn't really my style here. But I guess probably the thing I'll end this video on is you've got to be prepared to change things up. All the best gardens that I've been to, Secret Garden of Louth, 50 Shades of Green Garden, all that's the ones I've visited for my channel. They're still continually working on projects, so there'll be plenty more changes going on here. A garden really is something that evolves over time. A lot of us aren't professional garden designers, and although we've got ideas of what we want to do, we know we'll have the theory behind it. Our gardens are our gardens, and we want them to evolve to suit our needs, our wants, our styles, and our changing in tastes. So really, I think these hard landscaping decisions here will certainly help mine head in the right direction. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a comment below whether you agree with me, disagree with me, think I've done the wrong thing for this part of the garden. Let me know your thoughts, how you would change things here, evolve the garden. And if you want to comment on the other videos still, please do, because like I said, I'll be doing this in stages. So my current plan over the next week or so is to actually get most of the garden tidied up, ready for a little garden tour in a couple of weeks' time, something like that. But then, once this current beautiful spell of warm weather has passed us, unfortunately, I'll be digging out the bamboo, putting those in pots, using again some of that soil to pot them up, and then I can really start digging this area out. Not entirely sure where the soil's going just yet, but I'll definitely keep as much of it as I can and find out how many tree roots are actually under here, how much I can actually dig through. And then probably in a few weeks' time, after a trip with a certain Mr. Goodlad to potentially Sunk Island, I'll be able to get some more crusher in, barred in here, whacker plated down, extend the path another foot or so, and I really will then be able to have another look at this area here and see what jumps out and grabs me. Maybe incorporate a few more of your amazing ideas. So thanks again for the support. It really has been appreciated. So many amazing comments, and I hope you're all enjoying your amazing gardens through this spell of beautiful summer weather. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm now going to go inside, get another cup of coffee and head to work. I'll see you all soon. Bye.